was frozen. The thought of returning to the land. Chadlu kimat halimudim va'isukim behilchot Mashiach ubehilchot Gula. They stopped almost completely, definitely on the mass level, the studies that dealt with the laws of the Mashiach and the laws of the Gula. In other words, stop thinking about it. Stop worrying about it. It's not for you to deal with and to learn. You see what happens when you're looking for the redemption. You're waiting for the redemption. You're susceptible to all these maniacs. Shabtai Tzvi and Frank and all. There's others, these other movements that fell apart, that weren't the Mashiach. Some crazy guys get up and maniacs and think that they're the Mashiach. So therefore, the response was, don't worry about it. In other words, leave it to God. When He deems proper, He'll redeem you, whatever, without any need for you to get up and do and think and worry and identify the Mashiach. You sit back, you be passive. God will bring the redemption when He sees fit. You see what happens when you try to get involved and participate. These maniacs can fool you and destroy us. This, again, it's not just a simple thing. How many went after Shabtai Tzvi? It was literally, they left their homes, the whole movement. I don't know the numbers, but it was a giant thing that they really thought this was it. And can you imagine what that is? Leaving everything behind. And we're finding this is redemption. And the letdown was so great. So therefore, leave it to God. Stop worrying about it, learning about it, studying it. So what are we doing now? We'll talk about that. But that's what the response was. Leave it to God. Just finish this sentence 1 second. Tipchalu matzot was more emphasized. Ha'emunah tmima, the simple faith of kasher yaleh ratzon lifnei makom hu yigal otanu. The simple faith of God, when He deems fit, He will redeem you soon and quickly, without lelo mamatzim mitzidenu, without any efforts on our part. Like I said, leave it to God. Leave it to He'll bring the miracles, He'll do it without any, don't look for any human Mashiachs or any worldly. Okay. So now, that's the background, let's say, these two reasons, let's call it. The reality was so far away from any possibility of a natural redemption, and look what happens when you're waiting for Mashiach, whatever. Leave the whole thing, leave the whole topic to God. In other words, wait for the miracle, He'll bring it when He sees fit. Thus was the whole thought of the redemption and the returning to the Jewish kingdom was pushed off, so to speak, pushed to the back burners in the hearts of the Jewish people. God doesn't need your help. The opposite. Any attempt on your part to help God shows as if you don't have true faith in God. That idea was developed. Right? If you really believe in God, He needs you to bring you back to Eretz Yisrael. When He wants, you'll wake up in the morning and find yourself in Eretz Yisrael. That'll be the redemption. You buying a ticket in El Al, taking a boat ride, going to Eretz Yisrael, making Aliyah, building, getting rid of the swamp. That's even, again, the follow-up of this. Leave it to God, meaning any human attempt is even considered a heresy. Is not only that you don't have to wait for, don't wait for man. It's even forbidden to wait for man. It's a fault. It's a lacking in your belief, in your faith, if you participate, if you want to participate. Again, all these are outcomes of this conception of, because the reality was such that we couldn't do more, and these false messianic movements caused this reaction, this defense mechanism to push the whole topic, again, mystified, otherworldly, not for us to do. And then, like I said, even more so, of what the famous sugya, we'll learn about that, the hishtadlut and bitachon, right? Faith in God, and yet the human efforts. So how do they work together? The more you believe, the less you do. Is that the Jewish view, Bemet? Leave it to God, leave everything to God. You want to make a living? Just pray. You don't have to go out to work. But we'll talk about that with the sources. But that was developed as far as the redemption. People don't say that, right? It's to sit back and the money will come. Yeah, you go to work. But on this topic of the redemption, the national return to the land, that's what developed. Like we said, right? We're waiting for a sudden revelation from God or the lightning bolt from the blue. Because, again, I'm trying to explain a little bit this background that caused this expectation. Also educationally. If you have a person, a nation, a group that's in the ghettos and they're suffering, you tell them, don't worry. The redemption will come in the slow, natural way, the blood, sweat, and tears. Another 200 years of a natural development. We're suffering enough, and then you tell me that it's going to be, we have a long road in front of us. Instead of saying, you give them the option of what? What? Tomorrow the Mashiach can come. The miracle, the miraculous way. You're suffering today, but tomorrow, don't worry. God can do and bring us tomorrow. Mashiach now. It's so much more, and he's saying consoling, right? Why we're headed for more suffering and more problems and more difficulties. The natural way is, again, within the world, and you have to do and with sweat. So instead of that, they promised them, you become frum, you do your job, you do, like I said, two Shabbatot, what the Gemara says. You keep 2 Shabbatot. If everyone keeps 2 Shabbat, the Mashiach comes right away. No, great, we can leave all this difficulties of the exile and the suffering and the persecution and have the Mashiach tomorrow. So that was more, again, that's another explanation. You could say why it was more advanced and more dominated, this expectation, this desire for the immediate, quick, miraculous redemption. Afal even though that the day-to-day activities continued, meaning there were still the Jews that made Aliyah, and they still sent money for tzedakah to support the institutions of learning Torah in Eretz Yisrael, and the people that they came from Eretz Yisrael to ask for money were accepted with gratitude, and they were given charity and to support the Jews in Israel. But Otam Rabbanim v'Anshe Torah, those rabbis like Rav Kalisher and Rav Gutmach and others that we'll see, Asher nisu lachrog min hamizgeret hamuskemet, that tried to deviate from this accepted expectation of the miraculous, v'lizom pi'ilut ma'asit u'medinit, that tried to initiate human activism of participation, of bringing, let's do what we can politically and maneuvering to enable the Jews to come back to the land, not just sit passively. If the option is possible, if now it becomes available, now we can do certain things to bring about, to facilitate this process. So these rabbis that did say that, as we'll see, what we're going to read those sources, that said we can do now, get up, let's buy the land. Baron Rothschild talking to this, the kings, the governments, they're enabling us to buy land. No, let's start. Even though they were rabbis, this wasn't, way before Herzl. Lo zachu l'tmicha ruya. They didn't merit any true support. Even though formally they got the rabbi, the Rav Kalisher, Rav Gutmacher, both got the agreement of Rabbi Akiva Eger, the giant of the generation, that agreed with them that this is the way the redemption will be. But again, it wasn't a matter of intellect, a matter of sources. The mentality was such that the redemption will come through miracles. The rabbi comes and says, no, we have to do, and we'll talk about this